911, what's your emergency?
I killed her.
These 3 words, spoken by Marcus Johnson to a 911 operator, set the stage for a tragic and complex case. The seemingly ordinary man had committed a heinous act, leaving investigators and the public grappling with questions of motive and circumstance. In the following minutes, we'll explore the intricate web of emotions and events that led to this shocking crime, delving into the minds of both the victim and the perpetrator. As we unravel the details, we'll see how issues of gender identity, trust, and violence intertwined in this devastating incident that shook the city of Houston. Marcus Johnson met Ebony Davis at a church picnic in Houston in June 2018. Marcus, a 32-year-old accountant with traditional values, was captivated by Ebony's radiant smile and infectious laughter. Ebony, 28, worked as a hairstylist at an upscale salon in the city's Montrose district. Her charisma and fashion-forward style set her apart from the conservative church crowd. The couple quickly bonded over shared values, Southern comfort food, and dreams of starting a family. Marcus appreciated Ebony's ambition and creativity, while Ebony found comfort in Marcus's stability and devotion to his faith. However, Marcus's traditional upbringing occasionally clashed with Ebony's more progressive views, causing brief moments of tension. Ebony's career flourished, and she gained recognition as one of Houston's top hairstylists. Her success sometimes conflicted with Marcus's modest expectations, although he remained proud of her accomplishments. As their relationship progressed, subtle signs of unease emerged. Ebony became guarded about her past and hesitant to introduce Marcus to old friends. Despite these concerns, Marcus believed he had found his soulmate. On their 1-year anniversary, he proposed at Houston's Williams Tower, and Ebony tearfully accepted. The couple began planning an elaborate wedding at a plantation-style venue outside Houston. As the wedding day approached, Marcus noticed a change in Ebony's demeanor. She appeared increasingly anxious and distracted, dismissing his concerns as pre-wedding jitters. Marcus, eager to start their life together, chose to believe her explanations. Marcus stood at the altar, unaware that he was about to embark on a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about love, trust, and identity. As Ebony walked down the aisle, a flicker of apprehension crossed her face. The newlyweds jetted off to a Caribbean resort for their honeymoon, but Marcus soon noticed a change in Ebony's demeanor. She became distracted and on edge, often checking her phone when she thought he wasn't looking. Marcus initially dismissed his concerns, attributing Ebony's behavior to wedding stress and adjusting to married life. However, as days passed, the distance between them grew. Ebony's secretive actions became more pronounced. She kept her suitcase locked and became defensive when Marcus accidentally saw her hiding documents. When asked about past relationships, she provided vague answers or changed the subject. Their intimacy faded. Ebony spent extended periods in the bathroom before bed and seemed uncomfortable during intimate moments. Marcus found himself lying awake, his mind filled with doubts. Returning home to Houston, Marcus hoped things would improve. Instead, Ebony spent more time at work, often coming home late without explanation. When Marcus expressed concern, she accused him of being paranoid and controlling. The tension reached a breaking point one evening when Marcus found Ebony quickly closing her laptop as he entered the room. Their argument escalated, with Ebony storming out and not returning until early morning. That night, unable to sleep, Marcus decided to uncover the truth about Ebony's past. He began planning his investigation, unaware of the devastating consequences that would follow. His quest for answers would lead him down a dark path, challenging everything he thought he knew about love, identity, and the woman he had married. As Marcus prepared to delve into Ebony's history, the stage was set for a confrontation that would ignite a national debate on trust and deception in relationships. Marcus's suspicions had been growing for weeks. He couldn't shake the feeling that Ebony was hiding something significant from him. One afternoon, while Ebony was at work, Marcus searched their home for answers. In the back of their shared closet, he discovered a small, locked box he had never seen before. With trembling hands, he pried it open, revealing a collection of old documents and photographs. As Marcus sifted through the contents, his world began to crumble. Birth certificates, medical records, and old school photos painted a picture he struggled to comprehend. The person in these documents was not the Ebony he knew, but a young boy named Eric Davis. Marcus sat on the floor, surrounded by the evidence of his wife's past, his mind reeling from the implications. When Ebony returned home that evening, she found Marcus waiting for her. The contents of the box spread out on their dining room table. The color drained from her face as she realized her secret had been exposed. Marcus demanded answers, his voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. Ebony tried to explain, speaking of her lifelong struggle with identity and the fear of rejection that had kept her silent. She begged for forgiveness, pleading with Marcus to see beyond her past and recognize the woman he had fallen in love with. But Marcus was unable to process her words. His mind was clouded by a storm of emotions, betrayal, confusion, and anger that began to bubble to the surface. He thought of their wedding day, their plans for a family, and felt as if his entire life had been built on a lie. As Ebony continued to explain, Marcus's anger intensified. He felt trapped, cornered by a truth he never asked for and didn't want to accept. The room seemed to close in around him, Ebony's words fading into a distant hum as rage consumed his thoughts. The tension in the room reached a breaking point. Marcus's hands clenched into fists as he struggled to contain the fury building within him. Ebony sensed the shift in his demeanor and took a step back, fear replacing the pleading in her eyes. As Marcus's anger spiraled out of control, the stage was set for a confrontation that would have tragic and far-reaching consequences. In the tense silence that followed, neither Marcus nor Ebony could have predicted the violence that was about to erupt, forever altering the course of their lives and igniting a national debate on identity, trust, and the devastating consequences of societal pressures and hidden truths. Marcus struggled to process the truth about Ebony, his mind fracturing under the weight of betrayal and confusion. What followed was a descent into madness that would shock even the most hardened true crime investigators. He stumbled out of the bedroom, his mind a whirlwind of rage and disbelief. In the garage, his eyes fixed on a hammer hanging on the wall. Without fully realizing what he was doing, Marcus grasped the tool and returned to the bedroom. Ebony's pleas for understanding fell on deaf ears. The first blow caught Ebony by surprise. She raised her hands in a futile attempt to protect herself, but Marcus's rage had transformed him. The hammer came down again and again, each strike fueled by anger, betrayal, and years of pent-up societal pressures. Blood splattered across the walls as Ebony's cries for mercy gradually faded. Marcus continued his assault long after she had stopped moving, his mind disconnected from the horror his hands were inflicting. Forensic analysts would later report that Ebony had suffered multiple blunt force traumas to her head and body. The bedroom, once a symbol of their love, had been transformed into a nightmarish crime scene. As the red mist of anger began to clear, the full weight of what he had done crashed down upon Marcus. He found himself sitting beside Ebony's body, his clothes soaked in her blood. The realization of his actions hit him like a physical blow. With trembling hands, Marcus reached for his phone and dialed 911. His voice was barely above a whisper as he uttered the words that would seal his fate. "I killed her." The operator tried to extract more information, but Marcus had retreated into a state of shock. As sirens wailed in the distance, Marcus remained motionless. The flashing lights of police cars illuminated the bedroom, casting eerie shadows across the gruesome scene. Law enforcement officers approached the house, unaware of the tragedy that awaited them inside and the complex web of emotions that had led to this moment of unthinkable violence. As police cars arrived at the Johnson residence, officers were unprepared for the scene that awaited them. Inside, they found Marcus sitting on the floor beside Ebony's lifeless body, both covered in blood. The bedroom had been transformed into a gruesome crime scene. Detectives immediately began their investigation, documenting the blood-spattered walls, the discarded hammer, and the contents of Ebony's hidden box. Forensic analysts noted it was one of the bloodiest scenes they had encountered, with Ebony's body barely recognizable due to the brutal attack. Marcus was taken into custody and questioned. During the interrogation, he appeared shocked and confused. "I didn't know what I was doing," he told detectives quietly. "I loved her, and she lied to me. She wasn't who she said she was." His disjointed responses suggested a man struggling to comprehend his actions. The forensic team meticulously analyzed the crime scene, collecting DNA samples, fingerprints, and other evidence. They determined that the attack had been prolonged and particularly savage, shocking even veteran investigators. News of the murder spread quickly, leaving the community in disbelief. Friends and family of both Marcus and Ebony struggled to reconcile the couple they knew with the tragedy that had unfolded. The church where they first met held a vigil for Ebony. The investigation continued for weeks, with detectives uncovering Ebony's transgender identity and the complex dynamics that led to the fatal confrontation. The case gained national attention, raising questions about gender identity, relationship deception, and violence. Prosecutors charged Marcus with first-degree murder, citing the brutality and premeditated nature of the crime. The stage was set for a high-profile trial that would captivate the nation and spark intense debates about gender, identity, and societal acceptance. With Marcus awaiting trial, media outlets descended on Houston, eager to uncover every detail. The tragic story of Marcus and Ebony was about to become a national sensation, forcing people across the country to confront their own biases and beliefs about love, trust, and the complexities of human identity. The case of Marcus Johnson and Ebony's murder sparked intense debate across the nation. Media coverage focused on the gruesome details of the crime and Ebony's transgender identity, leading to polarized public opinion. Some sympathized with Marcus, viewing him as a victim of deception, while others condemned his actions as unforgivable. The trial became a media sensation, with the prosecution portraying Marcus as a cold-blooded killer who acted out of savage rage. They emphasized the brutality of the attack and its premeditated nature. The defense team, on the other hand, focused on Marcus's psychological state at the time of the murder. Expert witnesses testified about the impact of such a revelation on his mental health, arguing that he experienced a temporary break from reality during the attack. The case's impact on the transgender community grew increasingly apparent as the trial progressed. The hashtag Justice for Ebony went viral, sparking a movement for greater protection and rights for transgender individuals, particularly Black trans women. Activists used the case to raise awareness about the disproportionate levels of violence faced by the transgender community. After 3 days of intense deliberation, the jury found Marcus guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Outside the courthouse, crowds erupted in a mix of cheers and protests, reflecting the case's divisive nature. As Marcus was led away in handcuffs, it was clear that the impact of this tragic case would be felt long after the media spotlight faded. The story of Marcus and Ebony had forced the nation to confront uncomfortable truths about prejudice, violence, and the consequences that can arise when fear and misunderstanding collide with love and identity. The tragic case of Marcus and Ebony Johnson reveals the devastating consequences of secrets, fear, and societal pressure. Their story exposes the ongoing challenges faced by the transgender community, who often live in fear of violence and rejection. The case underscores the critical need for increased understanding, acceptance, and open communication in relationships. This tragedy emphasizes the importance of education and advocacy to combat discrimination and violence against transgender individuals. Organizations like the Human Rights Campaign and GLAAD provide resources and support for promoting LGBTQ+ equality and safety. As society moves forward, it is crucial to foster an environment where individuals can live authentically without fear of persecution or violence. The untimely end of Marcus and Ebony's relationship serves as a powerful reminder of the work that still needs to be done. It highlights the urgent need to create a more inclusive and understanding world where everyone can feel safe and accepted for who they are. The impact of their story extends beyond individual tragedy, calling for societal change and increased awareness of the struggles faced by the transgender community.